It was a rainy Monday morning in Manhattan, and the towering glass building of Riston and Gold Corp shimmered through the mist. The lobby, polished to perfection, echoed with footsteps, buzzing phones, and the clinking of expensive shoes. The kind of place where suits mattered more than smiles, and status was shown in subtle glances rather than kind gestures. Amidst the sea of polished businesswear walked a woman who looked both out of place and entirely at home. Her name was Amara Daniels. She wore a sleek navy blue blazer, slacks, and flats, not flashy but tasteful. Her natural curls were pulled into a professional updo, and her eyes carried the quiet confidence of someone who had weathered more storms than anyone in that building could imagine. She approached the front desk of the 44-story headquarters, holding a small leather portfolio under her arm. A tall, white man in his late 40s wearing a designer suit stepped in front of her before she could speak. Ma'am, he said with a cold smile, holding out a hand as if stopping traffic. Can I help you? Amara offered a polite smile. Yes, thank you. I have a meeting on the top floor executive suite. The man's smile faded into suspicion. With whom exactly? He asked, scanning her up and down like she didn't belong. She calmly replied, It's a private meeting. Unexpected, he scoffed quietly. Right, and what department do you work in? I don't. Then what business do you have in the executive wing? His tone sharpened, and so did his body language. Because I'm going to have to ask you to wait over there. Guests need to be escorted by management. The receptionist, a young woman named Clarice, looked up from her computer, clearly uncomfortable. She seemed to recognize something, but before she could speak, the man waved her off. I'll handle this, he told her. Keeping his eyes on Amara, the name on his gold-plated badge read Matthew Lyons, Senior Manager, Operations, Amara. Remain still. Mr. Lyons, is it? Yes, and you are? Amara Daniels. There was a flicker of recognition in his eyes. He'd heard that name recently, somewhere, maybe in an email. Before he could piece it together, she continued, And I assure you, you're about 5 minutes from the most important meeting of your career. He frowned. Look, I don't know who you think you are, but I don't have time for this. If you're selling something, I'd suggest... Suddenly, a voice called from across the lobby. Miss Daniels, heads turned. A group of executives in tailored suits briskly walked toward her. Leading them was the company's chairman himself, Leonard Hargrove, a man rarely seen in public spaces without 3 layers of security. He approached Amara with a bright, respectful smile and extended his hand. You're right on time. We were just coming down to greet you. Welcome to Riston and Gold. The lobby fell silent. Matthew Lyons blinked in disbelief as his superior, one of the most powerful figures in global finance, treated this woman with such visible admiration. I hope the staff treated you well. Leonard added warmly. Amara gave a small, amused glance at Matthew before saying the hospitality was ... memorable. Leonard chuckled politely, having sensed something had gone wrong. He turned to Matthew. I assume you welcomed Ms. Daniels properly? Matthew stammered. I didn't realize... she's our new CEO, Leonard said plainly. Effective. Immediately. Gasps spread like a wave. Clarice covered her mouth. Matthew's face turned the color of chalk. She just closed our largest acquisition to date, Leonard continued, pride in his voice. A $100 million tech deal that's going to reshape the next decade of our operations. Then he turned back to Amara and said, Shall we go up? Without another word, Amara nodded, adjusted her blazer, and walked with them toward the private elevator. The doors closed behind her, leaving a stunned silence in the lobby. What no one knew, what few had bothered to learn, was that Amara Daniels had spent her entire life earning this moment. She wasn't some diversity hire. She wasn't a token, named to make headlines. She was the woman who had turned 3 failing companies into billion-dollar enterprises. She was the strategist behind mergers no one thought possible. And yet, time and again, she was underestimated because of how she looked, how she dressed, or where she came from. Asterisk Amara had grown up in the south side of Chicago, raised by a single mother who worked 3 jobs just to keep food on the table. She had earned scholarships with sweat and sleepless nights, working while studying, always 2 steps behind because the world had built obstacles before she even arrived. Asterisk. She didn't have the luxury of internships through family connections or mentors at elite firms. Every opportunity she got, she fought for with intelligence, resilience, and quiet grace. She had learned early that when people judged you by your skin or status, your excellence had to be undeniable. Asterisk. After graduating with honors from Columbia, she joined a startup no one believed in. Within 5 years, she transformed it into one of the most promising tech firms in the region. Then she led its merger with an AI company in Europe, then another. By the time Riston and Gold heard her name, she had already become a force in the global economy. Asterisk. Leonard had met her through a business summit. He was skeptical at first. Not because of her credentials, but because he didn't believe anyone could pull off what she proposed, turning a stagnant financial giant into a tech-first global empire. Asterisk. But Amara had a plan and a vision. And now she had delivered. Asterisk. The first few months weren't easy. As she took over leadership at Riston and Gold, she encountered layers of silent resistance, closed doors, withheld information, quiet undermining by older executives who couldn't imagine being led by someone like her. Asterisk. But she didn't fight them with anger. She fought with results. Asterisk. She listened, observed, and restructured. She replaced ego-driven executives with visionaries. She created mentoring programs for underrepresented employees. She refused to play political games, focusing instead on performance, integrity, and impact. And gradually things shifted. The stock price rose. Innovation returned. Young talent flooded in, inspired by a CEO who didn't pretend to be perfect, but who proved every day that leadership was not about power, it was about responsibility. Asterisk. Months later, during a shareholders' conference, Amara walked on stage to a standing ovation. She spoke not of numbers but of transformation. Asterisk. She said, "Leadership is not about who looks like they belong at the table. It's about who's willing to build the table. I don't just want to sit in rooms, I want to open doors. Because when one of us rises, we can lift others with us." The audience erupted. Back in the office, Matthew Lyons quietly handed in his resignation. Not because Amara fired him, she never even mentioned that day again, but because some mistakes become mirrors. And once you see yourself clearly, it's hard to stand where you once stood. Asterisk. As for Clarice, the receptionist who had recognized Amara that morning, Amara personally called her into the CEO's office one afternoon. Asterisk. "I remember how you looked at me," she said kindly. "You wanted to speak, that matters." Asterisk. She offered Clarice a role in the company's HR mentorship initiative. A few years later, Clarice became a department lead. Asterisk. The company transformed, not because of money, but because of culture. Asterisk. Amara never let the power get to her head. She never forgot the rainy morning when someone tried to block her simply because of his assumptions. Asterisk. And every time she stood before a crowd, every time she signed a deal, every time she saw someone doubt her, she smiled. Asterisk. Because she had learned the most powerful truth of all: you don't need anyone's permission to be great. Moral. Asterisk. The world will always try to define you by what it sees. But what truly matters is what you believe about yourself. Be excellent. Be kind. Be unshakable. Because real power is not in the title, it's in your story. Asterisk.